Lo Chani Vanona Vikosi, and welcome to yet another episode of Thor Bees Hive. If you are tuning in for the first time, I really hope that you will enjoy this episode and it will help you fall in love, and you will click on that subscribe button and become a part of this amazing family. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining me again, and I hope that you will find this episode informative and helpful in your own life. Now, as you've seen on the topic today, we are talking about marrying young. I know it's a big one, but you know what? Let's get into it, right? Nothing too hard for us, right? We're championing through this one. But before we get into it, let us start with the word of the day today. We will find today's word in the book of Ecclesiastes. I'm not the only one that struggles with pronouncing that book, right? Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9. And I'm pretty sure you know this one. It has a lot to do. It's mostly read at weddings and stuff. Well, it goes, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Now, I know that, as I've said, that this verse is mostly read at weddings and stuff to say, you know, the two of you coming together is a good thing because you're better than one. But I would like to think that it was not only talking about romantic relationships or just marriage. I feel like God cares for us very much, and God cares so much about relationships and how we do in relationships. And I think this is a verse that points out how relationship is good for us, how fellowship is good for us. And so the coming together of people, the coming together of friends, the coming together of family, brothers and sisters, is very important to God, because obviously we are able to help each other out. I mean, there are so many more sayings around the world that talk about two being better than one, like, you know, two brains are better than one and all of that. But yeah, it has more to do than just marriage. But yes, because today we are talking about marriage, let's get into it. So some of you might have seen the topic of today's tube is only been like, hey Bolo, Shatile, how low hasn't she been married for like 2 seconds? How is she pulling YouTube videos on this? Well, your thoughts and your confusion is valid, okay? I also felt that way when I thought of this as a YouTube video idea, but I thought, you know what, imposter syndrome, just get out of my head, because I feel like if you have something to say and you feel like whatever that you share is going to be helpful to other people, don't let any form of limitation come against you, because it will help someone, be it one person or two people or whatever the number. But whoever that listens to it and it helps them, that is worth it, right? So anyway, let us get into it. So today I just want to talk about getting married and marrying young, and what are my thoughts on it, and maybe what I could say you could look out for if you and your partner are talking about getting married, or it's just something that you're curious about, you know, as a young person, you're single, but you're really looking to, you know, you're looking into that matter of, you know what, I feel like it's time for me to be married right now. What would marriage look like? How do I need to be prepared, or whatever? I just want to say that this is from my personal experience, and I just want to point out that marriage is different for all of us. Even the way you get into marriage, the circumstances under which you get into marriage, the age under which you get into marriage, like, it's different for everyone. Even as partners, we're different people getting married. So I don't feel like there's anyone that can advise you and then you find that that advice that they give you, it goes exactly that way. Yes, in a lot of things it will be similar, but you also have your own personality, your own strength, and a whole bunch of other things that you have to contribute into the marriage that will look differently from someone else, right? But yeah, this is the things that I have to share about it. Now, I know that the name of our message is Marrying Young, but that is quite, you know, it's different for different people, you know. My opinion is that if you are marrying younger than 25 years old as a lady, that could be marrying young, right? But for someone else, they could think, okay, no, that's fine. Some people think you could marry even when you're 19, 18, whatever. So that's my perspective. Like, if you were getting married, I think from under 25, then that is quite young. I feel, however, I didn't get married young. I feel like I got married at the right time. I was 25 going on to 26 when I got married. So I feel like that is a fair age to get married, and I feel like you are quite mature enough and you are quite wrapped around yourself enough to get married. Although that is not the only thing to consider. Age is not the only thing to consider when you get married. There's a whole other bunch of things. You know, you could be 25, but you could not be working yet, you know. You could not have a lot of things in your life figured out emotionally and mentally. You could, you know, just be working through a lot of things in your life, even though you're 25, but you could not necessarily be ready for marriage. So just like I'm saying, it's up to you. It looks different for everyone. So yeah, that's my opinion in terms of, okay, marrying young and what is marrying young or whatever. So I got married when I was like 25 going on to 26, and I feel like it was perfect. It was perfect timing, because even spiritually I had grown up. You know, I was at a stage where I was really reconnecting with God more, and funny enough, it was at a point where I was like, you know what, marriage will come when it comes. Whereas years before that, I felt like I was really pressuring my partner to be like, when are we doing this? Because we did talk about it and he was keen on it, but you know, it just wasn't happening. And I felt like, when are we doing this? You know, I kept pushing him. And at that time when it happened, I was at a point whereby, you know what, I was basking in God's purpose for my life, that I felt like I'm trusting God with whatever happens in my life. And if marriage is not in the cards at that point in time, then it was totally okay. And funny enough, that's when it happened. So I've mentioned already that age is not the only thing to consider. I feel like before getting married, you need to have a real sense of self. You need to figure out a lot of things about yourself. You know, you can't get married and you are someone who depends on someone else to make you happy, to make you whole. You know, I'm pretty sure some of you have heard that when you get married, it's two whole people coming together. It's not half and half how we've seen or whatever, but you need to be whole. You need to be very secured in yourself. You need to know where you're going in the future, what you want for yourself. You need to know if you want kids or not. You need to know what you want your life to look like, where you want to live, you know, what passions you have, what ambitions do you have for you, what plans do you plan on pursuing for your life. You know, I feel like that's a good place to start, because then you are able, when you find a partner and you have all those things figured out for yourself, you are able to see if that person will be able to fit in with those plans, or is someone that can be okay with those plans and come along with the ride and it be good and all of that. So it's very important that before you get married, you figure all of that out. You know, finances as well. Finances are very important. You know, working, you know, especially as women, I feel like as women, we are not made aware of how important it is to be, you know, well established and well grounded financially before you get married. And we take it for granted because you know, of the whole concept of the man is the provider of the home and but I feel like as a lady, you need to secure that bag before you get into marriage. You don't want to get into a marriage and you end up feeling like, even if your partner your husband is able to take care of you, whatever, which is important, and that's awesome if you find that, but then you don't want to end up feeling like a burden to someone. You know, you also want to be able to say, hey, you know, let's do this, and be able to finance this. And you don't want to find yourself in a position whereby you have so many ideas and there's so many things you want to try out and do within your marriage, but then you have to wait maybe for your husband for those things to come to pass. You need to be able to say, hey, look, let's do this, let's go there, let's travel, let's buy this, let's, you know, and buy things for him as well, because I mean, if he's always taking care of you and he also spoils you, besides taking care of you as, you know, the duty of the husband, you know, taking care of the home and all of that, financing everything in the home, he also maybe buys you gift, takes you out and all of that. You also want to be in a position whereby you can do that, and not with his money, you know, so that you feel like you're taking care of the person that is taking care of you as well. So I feel like even financially is also a very important aspect to consider before you get married, even as a lady, right? Right. Another thing that I would like to talk about in terms of marriage, I feel like as young people, we tend to see marriage, glorify marriage too much. We tend to see marriage as this honeymoon thing, that it's all about the cute pictures, the vacations, the big house, the big cars, you know, all of those dreamy things. And we forget that marriage, you marrying that person that you might be with, maybe dating right now, it like working that relationship will look the same even in marriage. It's just that when you are getting into a marriage, you're taking it a notch higher. You are doing it the right way. You are honoring God with your relationship. You know, you're not just winging it. And also maybe the difference is that when you're married, it's not just, you can't just leave this person by just snapping your finger and just saying, you know what, I'm tired of you, and then you walk out. It's not as easy as that, you know, when you're married. I'm so sorry about that. I ran out of battery, but let's get back into it. As I was saying, I was talking about how marriage is not this fantasy thing, you know. You still need to consider that when you're getting married, you need to work out your marriage each and every day. It is still a mundane, day-to-day building and living with someone else, right? It's not fantasy. It's not honeymoon throughout. It's not happy times throughout, you know. You need to live with this person who will sometimes have bad days. You will need to live with this person who will sometimes have days when they're depressed. They will have days when they're not in a good space, they're mad, and you need to be there by their sides throughout all of these things. And you need to work out what works for you, what works for them, meet in the middle, compromise. And it's not an easy thing, you know. I think also, I believe why a lot of marriages end in divorce these days is because we don't consider the work that goes into marriage. And a lot of people think that getting married will solve, you know, the problems that they have in their relationships currently. You know, you just feel like if you get married, you know, your husband will text you in the morning, you know, when you guys get married, when you know that he never does when you guys are dating. You just feel like, okay, maybe he'll give me money when we're married, even though you know that he doesn't do that when you guys are dating. And a lot of people tend to say whatever that someone is doing when you're dating, they're going to do it 10 times more when you're married. And I don't know how true this is, but all I can say is a person is who they are, is who they are, is who they are. And just the title of being a husband or title of being a wife will not change who they are, you know. In that moment, maybe in the beginning, they might be a certain way that they want to shift and they want to do things a bit differently, but it won't change who they are, you know, on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, on a emotional level, you understand? So if there's something that you feel like you cannot tolerate about someone while you're dating, I don't think that it is something that you should take lightly, and that you should understand that it probably won't change just because you guys are married, you understand? So marriage is not like this magical resolution for a person's personality, bad personality traits or whatever. If you choose to get married to someone and these things about them that you don't like, those need to be things that you are able to live with, you know. It must be, if you are saying, okay, this person's breath stinks and we are about to get married, that needs to be something that you are willing to live with for the rest of you guys' life. And when you guys get married, it means you are saying that, yes, this person's breath stinks, but I'm willing to, you know, I'm willing to see it through, you understand? So whatever it is that someone does when you guys are dating, if you don't like it, you address it. And if it still doesn't change, you need to sit down with yourself and ask yourself, okay, is this something that I'm willing to live with, If not, then you must consider just leaving that person and finding someone that will meet, you know, your standards much better, you know. Something else that I wanted to talk about when it comes to marrying young, for me, I love the fact that when you marry young, you guys are building together. I love the concept of starting off together, doing things together from scratch, you know. I love the idea of doing the firsts together, you know, having your first child together, building or buying your first house together, buying your first car together, you know, even if it's as an individual, but having that person grow with you, accomplish, you know, great milestones in your life with them. There's just something so beautiful about seeing each other grow, you know, remembering someone from when you guys were a bit younger and you guys didn't have that responsibility, and seeing them step up and really grow up and be like, yo, this is what's gonna happen. Guys, you don't understand. Like, it's the most beautiful thing ever, watching someone evolve, watching someone grow, watching someone take responsibility for their life, watching someone make decisions that you see will advance them, you know. And sometimes when we date, you know, we fall in love with people's potential, you know, and if you're blessed enough in a marriage, you're able to see those potential come alive, you know. Sometimes not, you know. It's very dangerous to fall in love with the potential of someone because it might not be realized, and sometimes they don't even see that potential that you're seeing in them, so they don't even see the reason for it to be realized or come alive or whatever. So it's a bit, but if you're blessed enough to see someone who is invested in their growth, and you see them, you know, growing, and you see them changing and developing in the important things about lives, it's amazing. It's amazing. I feel like that's one thing that is incredible. And I just want to say that, like, embrace your singleness, you know. I know it's not easy, you know, like now being married and building a life with my partner, it's so simple for me to say to someone, oh man, enjoy being single, you know. And I remember how frustrated I used to be when I wanted to get married and I saw people that were married and they would say, enjoy your singleness. I'm like, yeah, easy for you to say because, you know, you're already there yet. But you know what, like I'm saying, when I did get married, when it finally happened, I was at a place where I was like, you know what, like, I think that was the time when I was going to start enjoying being single. But then I got married, you know. But when you surrender your singlehood to God, it's so amazing. There's so much that you will learn. There's so much to learn, you know, about yourself, like, period. Even within marriage, you learn things about yourself, you know. So there's so much, it's so much nicer when you learn, I feel, things about yourself by yourself, you know, because you're able to work through them at your own pace. Whereas when you're married, if you're developing certain things that are a bit, you know, like, you have someone to literally like stand and be like, yo, what's happening with you, you know, you're acting weird. But when you're alone, you can figure it out. I mean, that can be a good and a bad thing. It depends on how you take it. But I feel like when you're single, you know, there's no that pressure of you have that space and to just work through things by yourself and at your own pace without any pressure of who will say what and any responsibility of, you know, like being good with someone and all of that. So I feel like if you're single, I mean, yes, it's good to wish and pray for marriage. It's also very important, you know, so that you are alert. You don't just fall into marriage. I feel like that's a very dangerous thing, to just find yourself falling into marriage. But if you are single and you're aware that, you know what, someday I want to be married, it's good to pray and to ask God, you know, what kind of a person would be the right person for me. It's good. Those things are all good and well. But then again, don't be so focused on that you miss out on yourself. because that can also be dangerous. Because if you miss out on learning and embracing yourself, then it can be difficult to merge and gel with someone else, because you are unable to say to that person, okay, this is who I am, this is what I will tolerate, this is what I will tolerate, this is what I will not tolerate, this is how far you can go, this is here you don't go. You establishing those boundaries and all of that. If you don't know yourself well enough, you're unable to, when you get together with someone, you're unable to state those things, and it may make the relationship quite hard. And when you get into a relationship and you're in love with someone, you just go with anything and everything. But when you are in the relationship, there's certain things that you just are uncomfortable with, and at that stage you start surprising people, like the person you're with, like, okay, it wasn't like this before. And it's hard for them to make that shift, because maybe they got into the relationship because they thought that is who you are, and now you're changing, and it's kind of like an unsettling thing. So I feel like it's more important when you're single to invest in getting to know yourself, in getting to know God, in working out your skills, working on your dreams, achieving all of that, because when you are in a marriage, then that gets complicated. When you're young and you're not married, you can play around freely. You can take your money, invest it anywhere. If you lose it, you lose it, and then you try and make more. But when you're married, like, you can't just do that, because you and the person that you're in a marriage with are trying to build something, are trying to establish something, where as you can't just play with that, because it's something that you both have agreed on and are working on, and there's a level of commitment that doesn't allow you to just let things go without speaking to the other person and finding out how they feel about that. But when you're young, you're able to learn so much and do so much, make so many mistakes, learn from them, and get up and try again and find yourself. So I feel like when you're single, let us not take that lightly, in as much as it is real out here and you feel like you want to get married, and maybe you are celibate and you just like, oof, I also want to chip in when people are talking about the deeds and but you know what, I just feel like relax, put on the brakes, and trust that at the right time God will make it happen. And trust me, if you trust God with marriage and finding the right partner for you, when it happens, you will feel like, okay, no, yeah, this is the right time. There couldn't have been a better time for it to happen than now, which is how I felt. I was a bit bummed, because I wasn't really bummed, okay, but like it was like, oh, okay, I was looking forward to embracing my singlehood, because for the longest time I wasn't anymore. Maybe because me and my partner had been together for a very long time, and it was kind of like, okay, we've been together for a long time, we have a child together, like, when is this gonna happen? I think maybe that's one thing that also made me frustrated about the whole thing. But I was getting excited to see what it is God has for me as just me, and I was, because I was in a stage where I was fixing my relationship with God, I was getting back to God, and improving my relationship with God. When I got married, I was like, oh, okay, we're here now. We're here now. It was nice, trust me, I'm happy about it, but it was like, oh, we're here now. But yeah, also, just when you're marrying young, you need to be very mindful of the person that you are getting married to. You need to make sure the person that you're getting married to is someone that accepts you for you wholly. This person needs to know when you are loud, you'll break out into song at any point, you do what you want, you are bubbly, you are social, you are all of those things. This person needs to understand that you are all of those things, and they need to embrace it. And even though they know maybe those things, they also need to know, okay, although you're social, you're bubbly, you're loud, but there's times when you want to sit down and be towards yourself. There's times when you just want to read a book. There's times when you just want to do this and like, that person needs to understand you fully and well and wholly, understand you, accept you, support you, and embrace all of you genuinely, and not tolerate you. You need to be with someone that, especially if you're young, because you guys have a long road ahead of you that you need to be with each other. So you need to be with someone who doesn't tolerate you, someone that loves you and supports you, even if you guys are different, because you can be very different and just be sure that when you get married to someone, they don't think that you will become someone else when you guys are married. Make sure that they fully embrace and accept who you are, and you also should be with someone that you fully embrace and accept as they are. You know, don't get into marriage thinking that, or hoping that someone will change. Maybe they'll become more social, you know, if you want a social person. Maybe you like a person for so many reasons, but they're just not social, you know, and you're hoping maybe they'll be more social when we're in the marriage. Don't do that to yourself, because now if it doesn't happen, you'll be stuck in an unhappy marriage, and nobody wants that, or you will consider divorcing, and we don't want that. We want healthy marriages, and marriages that are full of love, marriages that will raise godly seed, and that's what we want. So you want to make sure that when you get into a marriage, you are doing it with the right person, and you're doing it the right way. I hope that this has been helpful. If you would like for me to do more of these kinds of videos about marriage and stuff like that, let me know. You know, I'm just doing this because it's been in my heart. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I also was like, should I really do this? Do I know enough about marriage? But I just believe that there's someone out there who will relate to this, you know, who maybe doesn't relate to someone who has been married for 10 years and they know all of these great things about marriage. I feel like every step in life is important. Every opinion, you know, in life is important. So maybe there is someone who, like me, has only been married for a little over a year to 2 years, and you know, they're also just trying to figure out certain things, and they're just trying to figure out if they're in the right place. And maybe there's someone who is engaged and talking about marriage with their partner, and they just, you know, and I am the voice that they can relate to, and they can listen to genuinely and sincerely, and take in the information without, you know, feeling judged, without being overwhelmed or whatever. Just let me know if, you know, you enjoyed this in the comments. And yeah, remember to spread love, light, and positivity. Guys, please like, please comment. I really enjoy hearing from you and seeing the impact that the information that I share it has on you. Please do not hesitate to comment, and also subscribe. I see there's a lot of people that are watching but they're not subscribing. What are you doing? So I have a general rule that if I watch someone's video, like on YouTube, like videos more than 3 times, then I subscribe. Because if I'm watching you more than 3 times, it means I like you. It means there's something there for me. So like, why don't I just subscribe? And I just subscribe. It's not a big deal. Like, it's free. And you get to see this face like on your screen. Like, come on with it. Anyway, see you on the next one. I really enjoyed this one. If you did too, please do share. And if you have any other advice about people marrying young or whatever, please do not hesitate to share it down below. Thank you. I love you.